One of the best things about CNCs is that you can cut multiple parts in one go. But it's not always easy to do without paying money. So in this video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it for free. For this project, I'm going to be carving out the parts for a DIY belt sander, and we're going to be using Fusion 360, the personal use version, not the paid one. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a manufacturing model so you don't have to mess with your original design, lay out your material so you'll know exactly what's going to fit onto it, set up a simple grid so you can do your spacing manually, and make sure you have space for your bit, how to use the arrange and the move tool for fast and accurate positioning, and finally, how to generate the toolpaths for your nested parts. We're going to be going step by step, but if you only need one part of this, feel free to jump around. I'm going to leave the chapters in the comments. I do screw up a couple things in this journey, so stick around and I show you how to fix the mistakes without having to reprogram everything and cut everything else out. Let's get started. This is the model of the belt sander that I'm going to be making, and I'm going to be cutting in a lot of plywood and trying to do it all in one shot. You can see there's a lot of pieces, there's side pieces, and the rollers are all made out of the plywood as well, and they're going to be stacked, and I'm going to be using dowels to assemble them. If you're interested in how this belt sander comes out in real life, make sure you subscribe to my page and like this video. So to be able to nest all of these parts together without messing up this design, we're going to go into the manufacturing tab. Now I already have a model here, but what we're going to do is right click on manufacturing model and create a new manufacturing model. So from here, this manufacturing model is basically a model that you can completely mess around and it won't affect the model in your design. So we can right click on this and say edit manufacturing model. So what I'm going to do now is create a sketch. We'll create it on the top plane and see if we can find that origin. We'll do a rectangle, a center span rectangle. There we go. And we're going to dimension it to the size of the wood we're going to be using. So for me, it's going to be 21 tall and 28 wide. Now this base is just square and has some cutouts in it. So what I'm going to do for that is just hide it. I'll do that one by itself. It takes up a lot of space. Now we have a plane that we can start working with and we have a lot of parts. So I'm going to go through and start hiding all the parts that I'm not going to be cutting out on the CNC. So now that everything's hidden, I can start breaking up the model a little bit. And you want to make sure that you understand what direction you want to cut in. So for this one, I have a whole bunch of pockets on this side. So I want to make sure that that side's facing upwards so I can, cut them out. So to do this, we're going to do modify. We'll go to modify and then align. And there's lots of points. Now we want to pick this face and I'm going to go right to the center and it'll align that. Okay. And we'll flip it because we want that side up and press OK. Now we can move that to where we want it to. And when you move things, you can just drag it. But if you're not on the proper plane when you drag, it can move in your Z axis, which you don't want. So we'll cancel that. We're going to go to our top view and then we'll drag it to kind of where we want it to be. That looks good to me. Now you can see it's still on that axis. We'll do the same thing to this back plate now. Go to modify, align. Okay, that looks good. Back to the top plane. We'll drag it to this corner. And now we can start filling in some of the other parts. If you're getting tired of going to modify, align, you can also press S, and this lets you search and add shortcuts, so we can just add the shortcut. So we press S and then we just have to click on align. If you do need to rotate a piece, all you have to do is press M, click on the part you want to move, and then rotate it. or you can type in the angle here, press OK. So once you have everything laid out, kind of how you want it, we can add a grid to make sure that our spacing is appropriate. So to do that, on this bottom bar, go to Grid and Snaps, and say we want a layout grid, and then you can set your increments. We'll do fixed increments, and for this one, I'm going to be using an 1/8 of an inch bit, so I'm actually going to make it double that. Press OK. Now you can zoom in and go to the top plane and adjust anything that you need. And that's it. It was a huge pain in the butt, but I was able to get all of the pieces fit onto a single piece of plywood that will fit on my CNC. Now that we have everything laid out and fitting nicely on our piece of wood, the next step is to program it. The first thing we're going to do is create a setup. So click on Setup, and it's going to pick this gigantic thing, and that's obviously not what we want. So what we're going to do is, under Model, say Select. We're going to click the perimeter box. As long as you had all of your parts set up to the thickness of wood you're going to be using, for me it's 0.73 inches. You can go through, click on all your parts. Then over in the Stock tab, we're going to make it relative size box and make sure everything's 0. Now, the size of our stock is at 28, 21, and 0.73, exactly the size of the wood that we're going to be cutting. Then we'll head back over to the setup, and we can choose where we want to start our origin. I'm going to just leave it at the top of the stock and in the center. Press OK. One of the great things about CNCs is that it can do pocket cuts as well as profile cuts. You can't do that on a laser. So we're going to start off with pocket cuts. So up here, we're going to click on 2D Pocket. We're going to select an 1/8 inch end mill. We're going to leave all that the same. I like to click on the chains of the profile. That way it'll cut through over the holes. But it also means that you have to unclick any islands that you don't want to be cut out. So we'll go through and we'll click all these. Zoom back, just double check to make sure we have everything we want. We look good. For heights, we just want to go through and double check everything. Retract height looks good. The top height looks good. Feet height looks good. And the bottom height looks good. For passes, I don't want to leave any stock. I want to do multiple passes. And we're going to cut it to 0.125. Go down. I do want to do finishing passes on this. We're going to finish only at the final depth. And we're going to make this 0.02. And we're going to do 2 finishing passes. And I'm going to do this so that the last pass along the perimeter, it's going to do a skim cut. And this will make sure it's very accurate and very clean. Then we can go to linking. I'm just going to do a plunge for this one. Then we're going to turn off the leads. Since there's profiles in here that we care about, both the inner and outer shapes, I'm going to keep these off so that they don't kind of bury into them. Press OK. Now that our pockets are done, we can do a 2D contour cut now. It already selected the bit we're going to use. Now for geometry, all I'm going to do is click Silhouette and press OK. Adjust our angle, and you can see that it picks out everything that if you shined a light through it, it would go through. So every kind of hole, all the shapes, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a silhouette. We want to add tabs. Now, I'm using a compression bit, and typically they'll hold spots. It doesn't work as well for round shapes because they can spin in there. So we will need tabs for this one. I'm going to make this a triangle. Tab width, I'm going to make to 0.375. And tab height, I'll make to 1/8 of an inch. Then I'll do this every 2 inches. And this should be good enough to hold all of our parts where we need them to. There are some funky areas that we'll have to cut out, but so be it. We'll just have to cut those out nicely and use a file to trim them. But you could select them manually if you wanted to. Heights, we'll leave all of this the same. And passes, the finishing passes are actually in the first column for this one. We'll choose multiple finishing passes. Once again, we'll make it 0.02. We're going to do 2 finishing passes. And then we're also going to do multiple depths. We'll leave it at 0.125. And we'll click finish only at final depth once again to get a nice clean wall. We're going to turn the leads off. We're going to leave the ramp off, so it'll just be a plunge ramp. Press OK. And now if we zoom in, you can see that there's an extra cut on the bottom, and that'll be our finishing pass. Right, so everything looks good, and we can send that over to this CNC. So I messed up on my first attempt to cut this out of a single board. I didn't give myself enough space up here. Exactly what I was preaching, I didn't do myself. I should have given myself a good 1/2 inch, at least 3/4 would have been way better even. Or at least given myself a spot to clamp on that I knew where it was. But I didn't, so I crashed it, broke a bit, and only have a partial cutout. To fix this, it's actually quite simple. We'll right click on our manufacturing model and say duplicate. We'll go in our sketches, we're going to edit our sketch. So right click and say edit. I found a piece of plywood that's 28 wide and it's only 10 tall. I think it's 10 3/4 tall. Press finish sketch. And now all the pieces that are cut out, we can click on them and just drag them out of the way. And then we can reposition everything else that we need. Ta-da! And then we're going to go through the same process. You'll create a setup, click on the profile and all the parts, and then just go through and do the same method for the 2D pocket and the 2D contour. This way you don't have to try to cut through all of the pieces again and waste even more wood. Now, if you're interested to see how this project actually turns out as a belt sander, make sure you subscribe to the page and like this video. If you're working on a different project, make sure you comment what project you're working on down below. I'll see you for the next video.